In the dark corridors of English history, where royal secrets rot behind stone walls, one name echoes louder than all the rest. Henry VIII. Most people know the nursery rhyme. Divorced, beheaded, died. Divorced, beheaded, survived. But that cute rhyme hides a nightmare. Henry's marriages weren't accidents, bad luck, or romantic tragedies. They were the public expression of a private obsession, an obsession so dangerous that it reshaped England, destroyed queens, and created a religious earthquake still felt today. We think Henry was just obsessed with having a son. But what if the truth is darker? What if his private desires turned into a weapon? A weapon that tore apart families, rewrote laws, and turned marriage into a death sentence. Today, we uncover the terrifying pattern behind Henry VIII's love life. The pattern that made him one of history's most dangerous men. Young Henry VIII wanted the world to see perfection, a golden prince, a romantic knight, a chivalric hero. He was all that: tall, athletic, charming, a skilled jouster, a musician, a poet. In public, he cultivated the image of Europe's favorite monarch, a king who married for love, a king who danced, flirted, prayed, and ruled with grace. But behind closed doors, Henry was a predator with a crown. Masks and court dances became his hunting grounds. Records hint at mistress after mistress: Jane Popincourt, Elizabeth Carew, and especially Bessie Blount, who gave him a son he proudly acknowledged. Henry wasn't shy about desire. He pursued women with force, not romance. When he wanted someone, the entire court felt it. His public image was a shimmering lie. The real Henry VIII was a man driven by insecurity, lust, and a need for absolute control. For 20 years, Catherine of Aragon was the perfect queen. She was pious, intelligent, respected, and she even ruled England in Henry's absence. But she committed the one sin Henry could never forgive. She didn't give him a surviving son. After 6 pregnancies, only one child lived, Mary. To Catherine, this was heartbreak. To Henry, it was a sign from God. He became obsessed with a passage in Leviticus that warned a man who married his brother's widow, which Catherine was, would be childless. Never mind that the Pope himself had approved the marriage. Henry decided God wanted him to have a new wife, and that new wife was Anne Boleyn. When the Pope refused to annul the marriage, Henry did the unthinkable. He ripped England away from the Catholic Church and made himself supreme head of the Church of England. Catherine was thrown aside, stripped of her title, separated from her daughter, and left to die alone in a cold castle. Her crime? Not treason, not infidelity, simply failing to produce a son. She became the first victim of Henry's pattern. Anne Boleyn was the opposite of Catherine. Bold, witty, magnetic. She refused to be a mistress. she insisted on being queen. Henry fell into a frenzy. His letters to her read like the desperate scribbles of a lovesick teenager. He changed the entire religion of England for her. In 1533, Anne became queen. She was pregnant, and Henry was certain his heir was coming. But she gave birth to a girl, Elizabeth. Henry's disappointment poisoned everything. Anne suffered a miscarriage, then another, this time a boy. Whispers spread. People called her a witch. Henry's obsession curdled into hatred. Thomas Cromwell was ordered to fix the problem. The solution? Destroy Anne Boleyn. She was accused of adultery with 5 men, including her brother. Accusations built on tortured confessions and fabricated gossip. In May 1536, after a sham trial, Anne walked calmly to the scaffold. Henry had made her queen because of desire. He killed her because of disappointment. Henry's third wife, Jane Seymour, gave him the son he always wanted, Edward, and then she died. To Henry, this made her the perfect wife. Then came Anne of Cleves, a German princess chosen for political advantage. Henry met her in disguise, hoping for a romantic fairy tale moment. Instead, she didn't recognize him and recoiled. Henry felt humiliated. He called her unattractive and claimed the marriage was never consummated. Anne handled the danger brilliantly. She agreed to annulment immediately and lived out her life comfortably as the king's beloved sister. But then came Catherine Howard, Anne Boleyn's young cousin, barely more than a teenager. Henry, now obese and in chronic pain, was obsessed with her youth. He called her his rose without a thorn. But Catherine had a past, relationships that today we'd recognize as abusive and predatory toward her. When rumors reached Henry, his adoration turned to volcanic rage. She was accused of treason and executed at the Tower in 1542. A teenager put to death to soothe the ego of a king. By his later years, Henry VIII had become a monster of his own making. A jousting accident left him with a permanent leg wound. The infection never healed. He grew obese, paranoid, volatile. He weaponized the law. Disagreeing with him became treason. Adultery by a queen became a capital crime. He executed political opponents, religious leaders, even former friends. A figure once celebrated across Europe had become feared even within his own palace. His daughters, Mary and Elizabeth, grew up terrified of his temper. Only his final wife, Catherine Parr, survived, navigating his moods with brilliance and caution. Henry VIII died in 1547 at the age of 55, leaving behind a traumatized royal family and a nation reshaped by his obsessions. Henry VIII's life is a warning. When one man's desires control an entire country, no one is safe. If you want more deep dives into the darkest stories history tried to hide, like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you never miss the truth behind the crown. The horrifying sexual practice of Henry VIII wasn't a ritual, it was a system, a pattern, a worldview where women were tools, the law was a weapon, and desire was justification for murder. He wasn't just a king with a messy love life. He was a tyrant whose private pathology became national policy. His broken marriages created a new church. His rage destroyed lives. His insecurities shaped a dynasty. Henry VIII shows us that the most dangerous place in England was the king's bed. And the line between lover, tyrant, and murderer, for Henry, it simply didn't exist.